All right, welcome back. It is time to talk about Palantir. Yesterday, I was just live for the pre-earnings, and then the conference call was after I was live because I had to drop off for that. But more news to talk about today. I want to start, we'll get to sort of my response to the earnings call because it was not the best one, I will tell you that. And I'm totally fine saying that. There was a lot that went wrong, I'd say, but the numbers are there, the numbers are real, the numbers are coming in just fine. A little bit of lacking a wow factor, but let's get to that in a minute. First of all, we have, as I predicted, which wasn't a terribly bold prediction or anything, but ARK Invest buying back in. They really do seem, it's with Palantir as such a kind of range-bound stock at this point, to just be trading it and trading it effectively, calling the tops and calling the bottoms. Doesn't mean this is the bottom. We'll see what happens today if they actually bought any today, but you'll see their buy for November 9th. I believe it was over $1 million if you add it all up. ARK W, K, G, and Q, just to get back in, because you see they had sold 26, 25, and previously at 28.77, time the exact top, almost there. They're back in. I wouldn't be surprised if they bought more today. Before we get into some of this stock action that I want to talk about, let's switch over to actually an announcement here we had coming after the earnings report, which is a new offering from Palantir. So if I reload this page, this is palantir.com/offerings. This shows you all that they're about. A very underrated page. Not many people know about it, actually. So if you scroll all the way down, they had just added this today, I believe, on their Twitter account. They tweeted it out. Palantir Hyper Auto, automatically build data pipelines for your system in hours, not months. So if we head on over to Palantir Twitter, just to make sure I am being accurate on this, meet Palantir Hyper Auto. Yes, there it is. ERP, CRM, and EHR. So let's get back on over to this page here. Harmonize ERP and CRM data and connect it with the rest of your enterprise in just hours through software-defined data integration. Much like the crypto product, there's not much here. There actually is more here than there actually was on the crypto product, but you'll see a fairly short web page kind of saying what this is about. So an insider look, if we zoom in here, I just want to get to this because we heard Carp talking about 3 new products, one of which was Palantir Foundry for Crypto, another of which I'm guessing, because this is a new product, is sure it's kind of not a completely new, it's not like a Foundry level product in terms of scale, but it is new nonetheless, so I do want to cover it, because this is important. It means something for the business. The world's most formidable data integration problems, we've developed the first of its kind contrarian approach to data integration that emphasizes automation and dynamic data pipeline generation to achieve in hours. Okay, talking about rapid success. By generating a common data model across all systems, Palantir Hyper Auto democratizes knowledge locked in your systems to everyone. So we talk about, oh, is Palantir really decentralized? Well, this is a key argument for that. From factory technicians to data engineers to senior leadership in a vastly accelerated time frame without sacrificing data integrity. So it looks like there's a white paper here, video, blog. Perhaps I'll look into that in the future. So there are 4 steps to see the impact for this product offering. You connect it to your existing systems, you build, and you automatically build or actually probably you would explore first if I'm reading this correctly. You explore your enterprise data and import only what is relevant. Get the data that's important, and you build to automatically get your pipeline and generate business objects at scale. Then you turn the data into immediate impact with out-of-the-box use cases. Okay, so very vague, very vague. Let's see what else they have to say here. Enable both engineers and non-technical users to instantly leverage data. They talk about ERP or CRM systems, which is nothing new for them. Boost your current investments using Palantir's open architecture. We've heard so much about how it's open, how you can really bring anything to the table, whatever data, whatever structures you're using, it's plug and play with Palantir. Automate harmonization of ERP. Okay, so really, I need to see kind of what this means in the bigger scale of things. Turn ERP data into smarter operations, because anyone could just read through this. I'm trying to distill it down. What does this mean? Speed to savings with ERP data. So here we are, global energy company. This seems like it's good right here. A global energy company uses Palantir Foundry to integrate more than 300 ERP datasets and flag attempts to buy materials that are already in inventory. Okay, here we are. This is what matters. With all ERP data in Foundry, Okay, so yeah, this is a module of Foundry. This is not like a completely new product as I'm reading it. If I'm wrong, please correct me because it's not entirely clear. An alternating workflow identifies surplus materials and flags when material orders at one plant can be met with existing surplus elsewhere. The workflow and others allow the business to dramatically reduce inventory expenses and optimize working capital. Okay, that is very important. Within weeks of deploying Palantir ERP Suite, the business identified opportunities to save over $50 million in working capital. Now, working capital is very important for liquidity and the such, so I do like that they're kind of tackling this. Integrate your data today, and there's a form there. So I just wanted to mention that. Not anything groundbreaking, I wouldn't say, because again, sort of what they were talking about on the conference call for these sorts of modules. But let's have a look at the stock, because this is very tough to digest as a shareholder. I have not sold any. I'm sure some people have definitely cashed out, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's everyone's got their own strategy, but we saw sort of a rally towards the end of September. We were pushing and met resistance in the $28 level. Kind of fell off, which was pretty sharp decline, about 20%, and then kind of going into earnings from the $23 level, a rally, a very sort of strong rally of about 15%, and the earnings report, the stock was at $28 in the pre-market and has completely collapsed, not completely, but you get the idea, from 28 in the pre-market, sort of anticipating a huge beat, let's see what happens, and then it's just, the numbers were fine, it was a good report. But there was no wow factor. They raised guidance, but the thing with Palantir is, at least for me, I'm guessing for most people, everyone's sort of expecting a big beat. Like, we know they're conservative, how much can they deliver? And it wasn't a quarter that really had that wow factor. It wasn't a huge beat. It was, we got it conservatively because this is a weaker quarter, because of seasonality. We knew that going in, if you've been listening to what I'm saying. And it was sort of in line with expectations. Sure, it was a beat in the number sense, but not a huge beat. So that is just something to keep in mind, of course. And then, yeah, we have the stock sliding down to around the $22 level, of course, as you can see there. So let's talk about the earnings call. Now, I'm just going to cover the Q&A here, and the former part of the earnings call was actually pretty concerning. Now, I'm not going to put this on Sham or anyone else. It's probably not one person, but it's more how they handled it, all right? And I think this kind of sort of played into the deal with why the stock was selling off, perhaps. So if I make this bigger, it was a very salesman type deal. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when it comes time to Q&A, you need to actually answer the questions, which is not what happened. So I'm going to break down sort of the key elements that I saw. Someone asked about competition, which is sort of a recurring question, and they said our competition is our customer, in line with what they've been talking about before. Totally fine answer. Some people don't understand that, so I think they kind of need to, if they want to, like if someone's listening for the first time, they might be like, well, of course, well, what about Snowflake, stuff like that. So it'd be nice if they hit on that, just for someone listening to the call for the first time. But for me, that was a fine answer, shows the strength of Palantir's offering. Now, on the crypto, someone was asking, and this is a good question, is Palantir investing in crypto? From the information I brought you last earnings call, they were thinking about it. They're considering allocating some of it to the balance sheet. In their response, they had no answer for this. Sham completely deflected. Again, this is not on him. It's pretty much on the whole management team and how they chose to answer these questions. Completely deflected and talked about their product, not about adopting and buying cryptocurrency. So, like, literally zero mention to the actual purchase or non-purchase of crypto assets, which very disappointing. Like, at least say we are looking into it or we have no interest in this current moment. Zero mention of either of those things, which very much a deflection and not something I really appreciated. But moving on to the profitability, and this was good here. Again, a recurring question, when is Palantir going to be profitable? When are you pushing for that? We had the kind of generic response, right? We have strong growth and strong cash flow. We're pushing for expansion. Profitability is going to come, right? That's the end goal, right? Which is totally fine. It's a great answer, and good to hear that reiteration there. If you have any questions or comments about that, I'd love to hear what you're thinking about the profitability below. So about the AR, and that shouldn't be A/R because that would stand for like accounts receivable or something, but already using. they've already used, and this was something I was not aware of, but they've already kind of used like overlaying elements in for like their Foundry, if you're going to look at something in the business, to kind of overlay over a camera sort of recognition type deal, which very cool, not something I knew, and it was a nice question out of it. How about a consumer product? Now, again, I don't like this answer to the question. Their answer, which it makes sense, is they're saying our day zero companies are basically making the consumer products. But as a retail investor, we're not asking about these day zero companies' products. We're asking about your consumer product. Where is the next leg of growth that no one is expecting? It's a consumer product. And the problem is some of us actually are expecting a consumer product, at least slightly. Like there is a percentage of probability that there is a consumer product. For them to completely deflect this question is, again, concerning. I will say that. Now, I do kind of like this answer. Like it's a nice way of going about it. Like if you had to say something, it makes sense. It's just, can you give us a comment? He said, we cannot comment on consumer products. It's like, fine, but at least say we are exploring consumer products and we will make an announcement in the future, or we're not focused on that right now. And we will not be until our business is strong in these certain areas. Like, I don't know how they want to answer it, but I do want to hear an answer instead of just saying, no comment. Like, come on, we're the investors in this company. We kind of want to know what they're thinking, all right? So a little disappointed there, mainly in the consumer and the crypto answers, because I want to hear about that. But moving on to this, a benefit, a positive, if you will. Their sales team is 150 for US, and if I believe I got that right. And from that, they have more than doubled their commercial customer count, which is a fairly selective way of looking at it, but definitely some good news there. And when they talked about the modules, like this new crypto thing, it's repurposing existing software and code, I'd imagine. Same with this hyper auto type deal. They're using modules and sort of repackaging and rapidly distributing these, which means they can better distribute and better target customers that actually would need to use these. So basically, those were my takeaways. I know, very brief. There will be much more from me coming. But just again on the stock, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here, because previously we had been rallying after the earnings report, and this time we rallied into the earnings, which we have before, I think, but a significant fall. Now we're down to where the stock was 2 months ago. We have not been this low for 2 months, and I can understand why some people are seeing some frustration and definitely having some frustration with Palantir. Now, I have never recommended, obviously, trying to make money with Palantir in the short term, because that has certainly been a recipe for disaster, but yeah, I can definitely understand some discomfort with what Palantir kind of put out. Like, no serious red flags. It's just, we're looking for very strong growth numbers. And maybe kind of I had the wrong expectations going into this. Clearly I did. For them to say we are increasing our guidance, it's like, sure, that's a positive, but you also sandbagged it so much. And now we have some analyst kind of decreases in, where they don't upgrade, they actually downgrade. So, that's happened. Some actually upgrade. The analysts have no idea what to think. Lots of institutions are buying, so that is a positive. But I'm just wondering if maybe Palantir is going to struggle to put up huge growth numbers. Now, obviously, they say they're going to grow in excess, I should say, of 30%. Now, they're very confident in that. They just did 40%. They're guiding for 40% this year, just like last year. So that's huge. But it would be great to see so much more. And I don't know if that's right now on the table for Palantir, but I think that's sort of what the market's digesting. Not a huge quarter in terms of growth, kind of quarter over quarter. And that's kind of what they were saying. They were saying this is going to be a tough quarter. In terms of like immediate rapid growth. And I think the stock would have done much better if it was a complete blowout, obviously, but it wasn't. So it's a bit of sell the news type deal, which you can't really say is unwarranted, but definitely tough to see. So I don't know what else to say, really. I'm going to have to keep diving in. I'm going to listen to the earnings call again and dive into the reports, see what else to look at. Here we are on Hypercharts with the update. So again, you'll see, yes, the company is growing. The company is doing just fine. They narrowed the operating income loss, better operating loss, I should say. And it looks great. It's just the growth is not necessarily accelerating, which we'll see in a second if I keep scrolling down. Margins are improving. At least you can obviously see here from the operating margin. They did slim down the operating expenses. Yeah, as you'll see right there, great. It's great. And this is my favorite chart. All right. So you see revenue has actually declined from where it was. Like this is a growth year over year type deal. So it is sort of sliding down a little bit, which yes, the company's getting bigger. It's harder to grow faster and faster, but that's the type of thing I'm saying. Like if I want to see this line kind of like keep moving upwards, at the very least stabilize. And because like 49% down to 35%, like that is a pretty big slide. And from before it was 56. Like it's not a huge difference, but what I love to see is this red operating expenses. We saw this inflection point where the operating expenses growth was actually higher than the revenue last quarter. And now we see it's flipped and the operating expenses have completely dropped off. They're now negative in growth wise from year over year, it says, I think. Now, the reason for that is, look, it's right here. It's because of their massive kind of expense to go public. So I don't know. I haven't really backed it out to see what it actually be, but yeah, good to see there. I'm not sure if it would still be below the revenue, which is what I want to see. Like revenue needs to be growing faster year over year than expenses. So I'm not sure if that would still be the case because obviously it's comparing to this, right? That Q3. But wanted to note that outstanding shares still going up. Though lots of concerns, of course, with stock-based compensation. They covered that on the call. Not much new there, but it's something you have to accept with this company, or you just don't hold it. You just don't invest. But now we're looking at a revenue multiple under 30, which is not bad. Revenue growth year over year has been 35, so they're clearly going to post a better Q4 to get that at and above 40%, and their trailing 12-month revenue is 1.4 billion. I thought it was 1.5, so not sure about that. But stock down to 22.50, market cap down to 42. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time for Palantir. Not necessarily the outcome we were looking for, but an outcome nonetheless. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and let me know what you're thinking about Palantir and what you want to see from me. Until next time, peace.